Welcome to Leading the Way podcast, where you'll learn neuroscience-backed ways to lead more effectively and have more fun at work with what you already have. Hey there, it's Chris, and welcome to Leading the Way. I'm so excited to have my amazing guest, Danielle Meadows-Stinnett. Danielle, thank you so much for being on the show today.
I'm happy to be here.
Going to be so cool. It's going to be so cool. So everyone, you don't know how rad Danielle is, so I'm going to tell you about that. She knows, I know, but now we're going to tell you, and then we'll jump right into our content today. So Danielle is a multi-business owner in the C-suite. She's a published creative, certified prompt engineer, podcaster, strategist, wife, and mama of three to top it all off. She's a fanatic of Italian food, the season of autumn, cosplay, nerd lore, and retro gaming. Danielle's spoken across years of national and international conferences and summits to help business owners muster the realm around their digital marketing, meeting people in whatever marketing realm they're in. As a woman of color in tech, she proudly represents the near 2% Black women in the C-suite and 7% of the women of color in the industry. And she was recently internationally recognized for this in a 2024 Women to Watch by Digital Women. Danielle, again, so delightful to have you here. One of the things we talked about before, and I know it's your motto, and I'd love to know more about this, is you say life is more like Tetris and less like Mario. What do you mean by that?
It's a life motto, to be really honest. It's something that I've always ingrained with, even with my kids as they grow older. We love gaming. Gaming is a strategy of play that we use as a bigger model to kind of get through life. And I
Mm.
love that that particular phrase. A lot of people understand the difference between Mario, but maybe not the difference between Tetris. And so, for people who are very familiar with old school Mario, it's all about getting to the next level,
Yep.
racing through the level, jumping through, saving the princess, just hurrying to get to the other side, right?
Mm.
In Tetris, the strategy is much different. It's about leveling the playing field, building upon the blocks that you're given so that you can level up to the next space and place. And so the strategies are very different. And I think in a lot of ways, through life, through corporate building, through small business building, we have to think about the pieces that we're given and how we can shape that to level up our own game.
Oh, so powerful. And I love that. I used to joke differently, but similarly, that a lot of times my calendar would look like a Tetris game, right? When I was corporate
Right.
and fitting all the pieces in and getting a high score was maybe not the thing I wanted, but it was very poignant. And I love you talk about how gaming's important and gamification is important. I think some people will look at, gaming as a way to check out and separate, right? And there's certainly that instance for some folks, but sounds like you use it in a way to be engaging and join with people. Tell me more about that.
Absolutely. So my Team Octane, is a group of women across 5 countries. And so it's really interesting that all of us have this unique dynamic grounding foundation of using strategy for play. So using a level of gamification, whether that is team building, sourcing and finding out new resources, or breaking down systems, or different ways to think about things, to community building, right? Ways that we can
Mm,
work together to solve problems, realizing that each component is stronger than the next, or better than the next, if you will.
right.
I do love being able to use levels of gamification with our clients so that we can kind of let them know, hey, there's different ways to go about solving a problem.
Love it. Love it. And so often in the corporate world, having been there for many years myself, we first look at these problems of let's make a spreadsheet and let's do our NPR and net present value and let's do the least risky thing. It's very and left brain. And it sounds like you approach this very differently from the aspect of play. Do you have any examples you can talk through of how you do that with a client, with a customer?
Sure. We love working with nonprofits. We feel like a lot of nonprofits are a little bit more locally receptive to wanting to find different ways to solve problems. Recently, we had a superhero fun run event that happened locally around here, where people were dressed like superheroes to symbolize the resilience and strength of families affected and children affected by congenital heart disease, which is the
Mm,
number one birth defect in America, affecting 1 in 100 babies born every 15 minutes. That's crazy.
mm.
So knowing that statistic personally, I was trying to find ways where we could, exemplify that, show that these kids and these families were being more than resilient. They were being actual superheroes, defying impossible odds every day simply by breathing. And so I was able to kind of bring a level of nerd lore into that. Using that word superheroes, and we're able to completely brand out now in its 12th year, excuse me, 12th year, they were able to complete over 800 runners for this
Wow.
race where people are coming out in hordes to support these kids and these families affected by congenital heart disease. So again, how are we able to take the idea of something, right? Something that's a core value for a nonprofit or even a regular corporation or small business brand and amplify that by using levels of gamification, nerd lore, things along those lines that we like to focus on to continue to amplify their voices, their unique style, and really kind of make it their own signature.
So lovely. I love that. You mentioned briefly you've got a global team, and it's a challenge because yes doesn't mean yes in every country and every culture, right? When you're
That's
working with
right.
folks. So, what are some things you've learned with your own global teams and then working with your global customers?
I'm spoiled. That's one of the bigger ones.
Right
I
on.
realize that, being a woman in a position that I am, how lucky that is, but also how gratifying that is to be able to not only be the person who was at the lower end of the level at the top, kind of coming to the top now, but also understanding exactly where each of those people are in that realm as they're elevating their own positions. And so I think coming from that space, I'm able to be a little bit more humane, right, as a
Sure.
person, wanting to know each of their, their names, knowing, get to know their families a little bit, getting to know their lifestyle, not just knowing their favorite video games, but knowing their favorite color, being able to know them more on a human basis and less as a productivity basis. That's one of the bigger areas that I feel like I've been able to really concentrate on and lessons I've taken away over the past 10 to 15 years.
Nice. Nice. And I would imagine that works everywhere, right? When you connect with someone as a human first, I would imagine they show up more fully too, right? And what I notice about you is you're incredibly authentic. You are who you are, and that's it. In a very loving, great way. It's not an F you.
Yeah,
It's a love you, and this is who I am. Um, I would imagine that encourages others to do the same in your team. Is that what you're seeing?
absolutely. When we can be our most authentic selves, and again, not every space is made to be completely 110% authentic. Let's just
Sure.
put that out there. But it is very awesome and a very cool feeling to know that these women are walking into these spaces every day, sharing bits and pieces of themselves, their lives, their raw emotions, their ethnicities, their backgrounds, and still be able to harmoniously put together amazing projects for clients worldwide.
Yeah, I mean the brain science on this, which you know, but maybe not all the listeners know, is when you feel safe and empowered and you're not in fight, flight, freeze, like you've accessed your frontal cortex where all the magic is and all our great ideas are and all our problem solvings are, and you have so much more engagement and so much more productivity and so much more fun with your team when you can get there.
Yes.
I would imagine the energy is just bouncing off the walls, and the way you can serve your clients is very different, right? Because you might have a different take on things that
Yes.
folks might not have considered before. Yeah.
Absolutely. So our global position is that, we embrace and review and look at everything. And I think it's so important that we have that perspective. We're not coming from this from just an American perspective. It's not just a Kenyan perspective. It's not just an Indian perspective. It really is a focus of globally women across the world. And I think it's also a good glue reminder that we
Mm,
can be in multiple places around the world and still experience and share a lot of commonality. And it's
right.
more the things that keep us sane and together than there is more things that divide us. And so that's a commonality that I love to be able to share just by being able to have a staff that represents the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love your vibrance. Slight shift here. I can only imagine being a person that's born as you are and as other people are isn't always welcomed, right? And you've got to work differently or harder or smarter or to have success, sadly, in this world. And that can be a tough go, right? It can be disheartening, it can be frustrating, it can create anger. I imagine you've been through all that. Any guidance for your peers that are listening to this? Like, I want to be like Danielle, I want to be authentic and me, and I feel like I can't. any guidance you'd give for people going through that?
Absolutely. I always take it one day at a time. And I really do root myself in kind of understanding my identity not
Mm,
only as a person of color, as a Black woman, but also knowing that I am my ancestors' dream, right? Thinking about how far my lineage has come from just being serving people to serving ourselves. It's
yeah.
a huge escalation and a huge personal esteem booster in the capabilities of what we can be tomorrow. So while I think about the hardship, yes, and we go through a lot of grievances here or there, yes, I still come out on the other side a little bit unscathed and a little bit more tougher, knowing that I have come through so much and my lineage has come through so much that I can still be a star for someone else.
Wow, what a great attitude. I love it. Um, Shifting gears again, there's so many cool things to talk about. One of the things I know that you talk about in your business practice is this notion of building your realm. Now, is that different than building your tribe? What do you mean by that?
Kind of the same. So I love the realm because I love the fact that we play in a different type of way, and that's a different type of kingdom. It's a different type of structure. We talk about the player versus player environment versus the player versus computer environment, player versus a lot of different ways that you can play in gamification ways. But I personally love thinking of the idea of the realm being something that is environmental play. And so I
Mm,
think of realm in that way, and I think of team as the people who are with you in the realm. And so that's kind of how I've broken it down.
got it, got it. So, as folks are doing these gamification events, things with you, I would imagine it can diffuse some things, right? A lot of folks were in our work mode. It's work and work is this, and I shut myself off, and everyone has to be appropriate and very left brained, if the brain's on at all. And
Right.
whereas this, you're freeing up. I would imagine a lot of energy and different things show up as you do it. Yeah.
I totally agree. And in a lot of areas, when we work with our clients, it's really about giving them a safe, again, space, a safe space and a safe environment so that one idea that they think might be dumb actually is a great idea for them to grow and to blossom, and that they have the support of our team to help them blossom and grow that idea. So, fostering ideas, fostering community is one great aspect of multiple areas of how we play in the realm.
Nice, nice. And does every business kind of define their own realm, or do you have ones that, you know, here's the blue one, here's the pink one, here's the purple one you apply? How do you build out what the realm is?
It's based on their core values. It really
Okay.
is. So we
Okay.
talk about all the time how small businesses each have their own brand identity, their own core values around certain things. This is how we would build a realm for them. So if their characteristics is dependability, it's honesty, it's individuality, then we would want to build a realm around those things. But we also want to give them some support so they can continue to grow beyond just those characteristics into other areas that they could flourish.
Got it. Got it. So it's really up to what fits for them. Um, I would imagine too that as they're looking at that is, is this really a value, right? Because if you can play and live it out and your people can talk about it, that probably feels like a genuine value versus something that's like painted on the walls or, use Chat GPT to say, here's the five things that you should be valuing, right? Or even worse, you say that, we value diversity and inclusion and don't do it, uh,
Yes,
which sadly happens a lot.
yes.
You know, this is really living your values and like playing your values. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love that you say that, playing and actually being, because in a lot of areas we talk about gamification, we embody these characteristics. We don't just talk about them, we want to be about them. So there is a difference level between creating a realm and actually becoming more of that skin, if you will. That we love being able to embody around gamification. So for businesses who are very new to this, they're like, gaming is what? That's kind of a thing.
Right.
Really love to just kind of baby step them and grow them into this fostering community, letting them know that they're not alone, letting them know
Yeah.
there's resources for them, and just letting them know that the sky's the limit. It's really dependent upon how far they want to go. Those are the main areas we try to wrap around.
Very nice. Very nice. And it's, I'm only smiling because I have gaming, of course, too, but we all make movies in our heads, whether we're being honest about it or not. We've got a movie that we've made up about an event to come or something else or a fear or a happy thing, right? And it's it's interesting because I bet this taps right into it. This part of neuroscience I don't understand totally or claim to, but we've already got that movie going. Why not make the movie a fun one, right? Why not make it a gaming one that we're putting in our head, and when our RAS or reticular activating system is putting that on the top repeat list, not the, you suck, you're going to fail, this is scary, but like, this is fun and I'm safe and oh, I can learn. And, that kind of energy is injected into literally into the brain and into the company. That's really cool. I love that, Danielle.
Thank you.
Yeah. One of the things you talk about too, and we've talked about before, is how being a leader is really similar to parenting. There's so many overlaps there, and some healthy ones and unhealthy ones. But one of them is, none of us like to be told how to parent. That triggers all kinds of things, like how dare you and all that stuff. Even if we have blind spots, even if the person's intending to be helpful and is evidence based, all those
Yes,
things, and not just an aunt or an uncle. You should do it this way.
right.
But we do the same thing in leadership too. Like, how dare you tell me how to lead? I already know how to do it because I trust my family of origin or whatever the thing is. I know you talk about that real dance of dragons. Tell me more what that is.
Absolutely. So Dance of Dragons is really what it is. If you're a J.R. Martin fan, you kind of understand a little bit more of that terminology. But really, it's coming down to understanding that everyone is coming to this space very new. I'm a forever student. I will never not have the direct, perfect answer for every little thing because I am still acquiring information. And so
Mm,
we walk in spaces as a leader. We need to always walk in with that kind of mask on, if you will, knowing that we're going to have to learn something new. And I also do believe, like, especially for when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we talk about leadership. What does that embody? Especially for a lot of my area and in my realm, in my industry, there's a lot of pale faces,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there's
yeah.
less color in these spaces. And so when people say they're a leader, they don't really reflect sometimes some of the hardest working people in the room. And so when I think
Mm,
about those type of topics and how to be the best leader I can, one is to be human, right? As human as possible walking to these spaces. You're not going to have everyone's individual backgrounds. You're not going to be able to encompass all of those experiences, but giving them the platform, giving them the microphone, being able to amplify those voices and those viewpoints, to me is more sustainable and more deeply rooting and creating more of a safe space so that everyone feels included and everyone feels the ability to, I guess, more add to the team, right? To be feeling a little bit more sustainable, that I can actually contribute more because I feel like I'm being heard, I'm being
mhm.
seen, and I'm visible.
Love that. Love that. And I love how you say pale faces too. We talked about this a bit before too. I mean, certainly the world population is not majority white people and white males, and I'm one of them. And that's how I was born. But it's all sorts of different backgrounds and people with different skin tones and all sorts of things. Now, if you are a white male like I am, what are things we can do to be phenomenal allies and like build that up and make people feel safe? Because there's some baggage there, for being honest. And I'm of the belief that a lot of other white males, we have no clue what to do. It's not like out of intent, but like, what are some simple things people can do if they happen to be white males that are listening to this to make sure they're really engaging their whole team, regardless of color, right? Or race or anything else.
Yes, absolutely. Sexual orientation, all of it. Like, how do
Yeah.
we simplify those bases? And really, it's honestly just as simple as asking for their voice and giving them a
Mm.
platform to be able to amplify that voice. Don't put them in a corner office and ask them for their views and then
Right.
never bring it up again. Bring it up in the staff meeting, bring it up in the boardroom, bring it up amongst other people in the space with you. That's
Right.
how you let people know that what you say has value. I also love the ability to, again, share platforms. So not just, again, voicing it, but hey, you know what? We have a free X amount of something that we want to share with our viewers. We'd love your input. Not
Mm.
necessarily using their voice, but asking them for their opinions and how they would either solve a problem or even come about a solution to something. So I really love both the vocal amplification, but also letting them know that, I'm there, I'm with you, I understand where you're coming from. And I think that kind of both of those type of platforms or abilities or tool sets kind of help let other people know that they can be heard and it's okay and it's a safe space to talk about the things that they feel like are important.
Right. I love that. Just lead with this is a human first. All the other stuff really is noise because we can't really control any of it. It's what we're born with. It's our genetics,
Right,
right?
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
So how do
Mhm.
we love on each other and set each other up for a win? I mean, it's a relatively simple thing. We make it harder, but
Yes, I completely agree. I feel like in a lot of areas, sometimes it becomes very tactical and it gets kind of a little convoluted. And I
right,
kind of tell people left and right, like it's really not a matter of all the schematics. It really comes down to who wants to be human first.
right, right. And I mean, it's kind of a duh moment too, but it's the same thing as we engage with our customers is making sure we have a representative group and we're actually really talking to them, right? Not looking at just the data, which is important and the insights, but like a literal human across the table, across the Zoom. Um, hey, what do you think about this product or service and what's going on for you and how could we do it better?
Yes.
I would imagine there's just absolute gold nuggets in that from, I mean, even just a strict profitability standpoint. Oh, my product will be better, but how you serve the customers and how you build like customer lifetime value, um, it's got to be way more impactful than just looking at data or using your N of one to, well, I would buy a Twinkie. Why wouldn't everyone buy a Twinkie? Right?
Well, I mean, Twinkies are very popular here. So
Yeah, yeah. Maybe Twinkie's a bad example. Yeah, yeah,
but I do totally relate to that. And it is a matter of listening to data, but listening to customer intuition. And there is a big difference, even in the data, that suggests that data says to go one direction, but your human instincts say to go another. And what do you lean on, and how do you go about that? And it really is a matter of, a little bit of a trial and error. Better understanding that if I lean on the data, this is what happens. If I lean on my human instinct, this is what happens. How can I marry the two?
right.
And it comes a little bit of grace and a little bit of again trial and error, but time is actually the variable that no one ever really considers when they're thinking about making those decisions. And I think over time, that's how you get the more definitive answer.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. And as you're saying that too, I always geek out in the brain science part is, we're emotional decision makers. Most of our decisions are made in our limbic system,
Yes.
and there's all kinds of chemicals going on there. And actually, I just learned last week the notion of language actually doesn't exist in our limbic system, right? So
Yes.
we say we're these data-based and insight-based decision makers, but really there's a lot of instinct and pattern and stuff that we're making our decisions with, no matter how smart we are and whatever data we are. We're chemical beings and we have
Yes.
electrical currents going, right? It's like boop. So I think that's even why it's more important to really give everyone a voice and really hear that out and set them up for a win and make them feel safe and help them build up problem solving skills, right? Because it will influence that emotional decision making, I think, for the best outcomes. Yeah.
Absolutely. And our goal, again, overall, is to create generational wealth. So what we think about the things that we can do with our products, with our services, and how we interact with people, it
Yeah.
really comes down to that. How can we create generational wealth?
Let's see. We're parenting business. Oh, what I was going to ask you, Danelle, is this. You've grown your company a lot. You've done a lot more things. Do you have 10 years from now, here's where I want to be. Here's all the awesome things that would have accomplished. Not that it's about accomplishments and checklists, but where are you going with what you're doing?
My accomplishments and checklist actually is to embody and encourage more women, right? Like that's really the heart of what I do. I want to be able to provide more generational wealth for Black and Brown women. I want to be
Nice.
able to provide more open platforms for diverse people. And so for me, that's through digital marketing. That's providing more jobs. That's providing more opportunities for Black and Brown women to feel encouraged and empowered through their own products and services.
Love it. So how do they do that, right? They're going to be fired up about listening. Us humans, forgive me for using the word they, people will be fired up about talking to you and engaging. How do they engage with you? How do they make this happen with you?
So for me, I love talking in person. I love talking on podcasts. So one-on-one interaction is really cool for me. I do this in a variety of ways, from webinars to socials, to just setting up a free consultation on our website, like all the different ways that we can do that. One of my biggest contributions in wanting to help specifically Black and Brown and marginalized groups in general with digital marketing is through our very special program, Control Alt Rebrand. It literally is kind of an angel project application form that people fill out. And every quarter, we select a business as a team to amplify and provide complete digital marketing from small scale to large scale.
Wow.
And we do that at least 4 times a year.
Wow. What a cool name and a phenomenal program. I mean, that just shows your commitment to really doing this. It's not just about money, it's about really changing the game for people that happen to be born women of color, right? I love it. So
And other
powerful.
marginalized groups too. I do want to mention that, like, it's not just for Black and Brown, but really we're amplifying this number around this horrible statistic that more than 75 businesses fail, specifically Black and Brown businesses fail within the first 2 years of ever being erected. And it's really
Mm,
important that we tackle that as a community and as a village to kind of provide a better realm. A lot of people walk into these spaces creating a business with just an idea. But many of them also come around from the generational past of a business, and
mm.
how can they make it everlasting so that it lives beyond grandma, it lives beyond them, it lives beyond their children. And so this was one way that we knew that we could combat this specific statistic to help encourage and surround and really support marginalized groups who are starting their own businesses.
Love it. Love it. And for folks that are driving or jogging, we'll have all the lists and links and the show notes. So don't hurt yourself while you're doing those things. We'll have all sorts of ways to reach out. I'm curious, Danielle, for folks listening too that identify with us heavily, in addition to engaging with you, do you have any single one tip or tips? Like, I've got the idea, I'm really excited. I want to talk to Danielle for sure, but what's a simple next step they could take?
Absolutely. So if you're a gamified person, I actually have a book, that a journal, a prompt journal. It's a 10-point prompt journal that actually walks you through this idea. So if you have an idea, you're thinking about starting something, where do I begin? How about write it down? That's forever, right?
Yeah.
We kind of forget that the intuition, right? The brain remembers and hoards and stores information, specifically when we start being more textual with ourselves. And so
Mm,
writing things down automatically puts things in our brain to keep wheelhousing. And so
mm.
it's really important that I created this kind of gamified journal, the playbook, to kind of help people with those ideas. I had this idea, I'm going to type it out, I'll come back to it later. The journal is a great starting point. I have this idea, where do I go now? So that's one. The other one, obviously, I'm going to tell you left and right is, if you know you want to work with me and you know you want to do this type of things with Octane, we have spaces where you can actually just accumulate thoughts and ideas without having to pay a dime. We call those our virtual chats. And so
Wow.
kind of ways where we can, again, Zoom call, sit down, hoard, and kind of talk a little bit more about the things that you want to do without you having to think so far ahead, having to think about a budget just yet, things along those lines.
Wow. What an awesome opportunity for a starter business, right? To one, the journaling so important and writing it down and having guidance about what to write down. And then, for free, just your energy, start engaging. That's an insanely great opportunity for folks listening. So if you have any inkling at all, click and make that happen for yourself. Uh,
Yes.
Dan- and Danielle's just, you can tell, a lovely person, super energetic, super bright at what she does. So I can tell you it'd be an enjoyable experience for you for sure. Before we close out things, I always love to ask our amazing guests, Danielle, what's something you're thankful for or really grateful for today?
Oh man, I'm grateful for community. I think as we kind of go about this age right now in our world, in our nation, even here in America, it's really important that we hold on to community. Not only holding on to the things that make our communities great, but remembering that we're also stewards of community, and that each and
Mm,
every single one of us has the ability to create community for someone else.
that's beautiful. I love that. Danielle, thank you so much for being on Leading the Way and sharing your brilliance with the world. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And for the listeners out there, make sure you like and subscribe and share this with a friend, because I'm sure someone that you know would love to hear this, and keep leading the way. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Leading the Way podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss other great episodes like this one. And if you're ready for more in your workplace, be sure to go to aintent.com. You'll find lots of free tools, assessments, and ways to engage directly with us to get your own epic results. We'll see you there.